Welcome everyone to the first game of the clutch chess between Vishy Anand on the left of your screen and Garry Kasparov. The first game that these two played against each other was back in 1991, and now here we are in 2025, 34 years later they sit against each other. In 95 they even played the World Championship match, which was 30 years ago. Vishy has won 10 games against Garry. Garry has won 27 games against Vishy. But we are going to see chess 960 today. It's the Fisher random chess, and Vishy opens the game with 1 e4. It's 25 minutes plus 10 seconds increment. The players did analyze with each other, not with each other but with their seconds. Vishy had Quang, Liem coming in. Garry had Fabiano, Caruana, and we have the French defense kind of set up here. Knight comes out to c3, and if we look carefully, the queen is activated, the bishop opens up, pawn takes pawn, and one must be careful because a move like bishop b5 would suddenly net the rook, but there is knight e2 to block it. He goes bishop c6, attacking the knight on e4. And Vishy plays pawn to f3. Maybe not the best move, but I can understand. If f5, he wants to jump knight to c5, attacking the e6 pawn. Knight jumps to e7, trying to go to f5, attack d4 and e3. Queen d3 played here by Anand. And Garry goes g6. He's attacking the d4 pawn. Vishy touches the king and castles it. The king remains on c1, but the rook jumps over to d1. And that's a nice move. It defends the pawn on d4 and knight to f5, putting even further pressure here. But it's not a great move because now you can defend the d4 pawn with knight e2 and later kick it away with g4. Yes, knight e2 on the board. Excellent move here. And he goes queen to e7, and I guess it's time to push the knight away. He does it. If knight h4 after f4, this knight can get pretty much out of the game. So Garry quickly brings it back to d6 and bishop g3. I love how Vishy is playing this. He's slightly low on time with 12 minutes, but he has a better position clearly. He's trying to gain space more and more, and we have short castling, a dangerous move here by Garry because h4, h5 can open up the king side. He goes knight to c3, improving the position of his knight. Vishy slowly and steadily trying to put pressure, knight a6, with the idea of perhaps going knight to b4, and Anand plays a3, limiting the knight on a6. We have rook a d8. And now Vishy takes on d6 so that the pressure on the d4 pawn is reduced. You must take it back with the pawn. So it takes here 10 minutes 51 seconds for Garry, 11 minutes 51 seconds for Vishy, and f4, a beautiful move. White is clearly for choice. Knight to c7, and now very well f5 could be possible. h4 played, trying to play h5 with white, and f5 played here. You want to keep the position open with h5, but Vishy goes g5, and look at Garry, look at his expressions there. He looks at Vishy, he stares at him. He's like, why did you close this? Actually, this is not a great move because suddenly the evaluation is equal. Garry can't believe, well, these expressions of Garry, which are so legendary. d5, he finds it. He blocks the bishop on h1. Maybe now knight e8, knight d6, knight e4. But Vishy goes h5. He's trying to open up the king side. If you take here, bishop e8, bg6 is what he wants to do perhaps. But it's not such a great... Oh, he takes it. He does take it. Wow. Well, I was just saying, like, you can put your bishop here, but it does look a bit passive. So the e6 pawn is a bit weak. Vishy goes knight Oh, he goes bishop f3. Bishop goes to e8. And now rook to h1, I believe. Yes, he plays his rook there. Bishop goes to g6 to block the position. And Anand can already take that pawn on h5. But he goes knight e2. I like this move. He's trying for something very subtle. Bishop e1 to b4. The knight goes to g3 to attack h5. Knight e8. The bishop jumps back to e1. And Vishy is definitely for choice. He's just grinding this. Queen c7. He's putting a lot of pressure on Garry. Bishop h5. He has a huge advantage. Also knight e2. Notice that it defends the f4 pawn. So bishop goes to g7. And now king b1 played. Kasparov brings his pawn to a5, stopping. Bishop b4 also trying to expand on the queen side with b5, b4. Queen e3, king f7, and now knight goes to g1. He goes rook c8, and c2 is hanging. A very nasty little move, but Vishy gets a bit too passive. He goes queen c1, and Garry is like, okay, I'm going to come back now. Knight d6, the knight is coming into e4. Meanwhile, Vishy's knight is coming into e5. Which knight will be more powerful? Remains to be seen. He gets his bishop back to e2. And somehow this strategy of Garry of blocking here has worked. b5 played. Knight jumps into f3. And rook to b8. Black's position has a lot of potential now. Knight e5 check. You can take on e5. You can also go back with your king. I think taking makes a lot more sense. He takes it. Takes the knight on e5. D takes e5. Knight e4. And now the knight is looking at these key squares here in the center. Vishy goes rook d3. And Garry pushes forward with b4. He's attacking. He's attacking here with all his might. a4 played. And rook to c8. Vishy Anand needs to switch to the king side now. We have to keep our eyes. Yes, rook h3, trying to put pressure here. Also, be aware of knight c3 ideas here. King e8 played by Garry. He goes bishop a6, slightly irritant there, slight irritant. Look at Garry, he's unhappy. He's like, I missed that. So now the rook is hanging. He has to move the rook away to d8. And Vishy is once again in the driver's seat. He has a nice position here, even though the knight on e4 is a monster. Also, the bishop on g6 is bad, but it defends such a good pawn here on h7. Two rooks are being limited by it. And Garry is so upset here with his position. He also on time, he has 2 minutes. Vishy goes queen d1, a good move. 3 minutes for Anand. Rook d7, provoking Vishy to go bishop b5 so that he can sack an exchange here with his rook. Queen d4 played. And now queen c6. Maybe with the idea of bishop b5. Yes, bishop b5. He takes instantly in a flash. Queen b5 here. White is now an exchange up, but black has lot of counterplay. He plays bishop f2. And one must tread carefully in this position. Rook b7, stopping queen b6 ideas. And Anand switches his rook to d1. He's getting a bit passive here. Oh, he goes queen e2. a4 would have been very nice. But queen e2 with the idea of attacking here. I think Garry is sensing that he has an opportunity here. He doesn't want to miss it. The bishop is attacked on f2. Vishy, bit nervous here, goes bishop e1, controlling the c3 square just in case if the knight jumps in. And now the queen goes to g4, attacking f4 and also the rook here on h3. But Anand is ready, rook h4, queen comes to e2 and now queen d3, kind of trapping the queen and offering a trade. Looks good, and look at Garry once again shaking his head. These incredible expressions of Garry which we have been missing for so many years. We'll be able to see it. Queen d3, the queen cannot now avoid a trade here because if you move your queen away then the white queen just simply enters in. Bishop h5 played. And his point is, if bishop, queen takes queen wants to take with the bishop, I think you can take it and play rook d4. Garry knows it that he has botched up a good position here and he is in big trouble. Anand plays rook c1. I love this move because after queen takes queen, he has c pawn takes and the rook gets active. We have knight c5 attacking the queen. Queen takes queen, bishop takes. And now bishop f2, another good move. By Vishy, knight jumps into e4. You can go bishop e3. Playable here. Yes, he plays it. Bishop e3 played. And Garry goes d4. His point is, and Vishy plays rook e1. He should have played rook h2 so that when the bishop moves, he can take the pawn. Now he cannot because even when the bishop moves, bishop d4, there's a check and knight f3 with a fork coming in. So rook e1, the move that Vishy played super quick, turns out to be a mistake. Has to go back to c1. Bishop c1 played, and now Garry is doing pretty well here. He must go knight c5 first because the threat is rook e4, pawn takes and rook takes g4. That's the idea. Both of them on the edge of their seats. Goes knight g3. Rook h6 coming in to attack e6. No, he goes rook g1. Knight e2, rook h1 played, threatening the h7 pawn. And Garry's only move is bishop f3 to attack the rook. He plays it. Bishop f3, attacking the rook, defending his own rook. Rook to h3, bishop goes to e4. Now the c2 pawn is under pressure. The problem here is that if you play rook h7, I can take and play b3, which is winning. So Vishy plays b3, rook c7 instantly played, rook takes pawn. And now look at Garry calculating there with his hand, take. And he takes on c2, check. There's no mate here, is what Garry's calculated. Look at him. He's like, what's happening? Can I go to d7? Goes king f7. Epic stuff there. Rook h6, king g7. Check. Vishy knows it's a draw. He doesn't want to try anything more there. And a draw is agreed. What a game. Both of them have smiles on their face. It was an insane battle. It was an incredible battle there by these legends. And the first game showed so much of interesting chess for both the players. I must say that there were many moments where both sides could have improved their play and from the precision of the engine, but what fighting chess shown by them. I think it was absolutely legendary. And look at how Vishy's analyzing lines. He has seen a lot of stuff, but Garry, of course, is happy to be on the board, on the scoreboard, because when it comes to the players who are in touch right now, clearly Vishy is more in touch with chess than Garry Kasparov. And this is clutch chess, by the way. Remember that day one you have point system of 1 point for the win, half for a draw and 0 for a loss. Garry gets up, Vishy still shows him the lines. On day 2 the points are double, 2 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, 0 for a loss. And on day 3 you have 3 points for a win, 1.5 for a draw and 0 for a loss. So the stakes keep rising as the days go on. And look at the interest with which Vishy is analyzing. Amazing stuff here at the St. Louis Chess Club. Kudos to them for organizing this epic matchup.